Good morning, team. Welcome aboard to the Morning Note. My name is Carlos Garcia, founder and CEO of Gar Capital. It is Wednesday, August 28th, 2024. Glad to be with you this morning and every morning, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time here on our YouTube channel. If this is your first time here, make sure to hit the like button if you like these videos, turn on notifications so you don't miss any future ones, and subscribe to our channel. It is free. It will always be free. Um, the last couple of days have been rather choppy. We talked about that on the podcast and these videos, and looks like today's kind of the same. Happy NVIDIA earnings day, right? That's basically what everyone's waiting for, is the most important company probably right now in the stock market, NVIDIA, reporting after the bell. So I'll do the podcast after that to give my instant reaction. So that'll be fun. But as of right now, it's kind of a holding pattern. Dow futures are down 30 points. NASDAQ's down about 0.08%. S&P is just flat. The Russell's down 0.42%, but a possible bull flag setting up on RTY. Right now, it's still holding above 2,200, pretty much by the skin of its teeth. Let's see if we can break above like 2214, 2215. NVIDIA, I don't think will affect small caps. It may increase the sentiment in the stock market in terms of risk appetite if it's a really good reaction. But we'll see in terms of this kind of really choppy action where the direction is going to go. Crude oil is down another 1%. That's 74.81. We talked about how crude oil is kind of in its own world when it comes to the commodity cycle and a weaker dollar or a stronger dollar. Again, be that as it may. It's really going to be headline based from the Middle East. Nothing that I know that has been rather market moving yet. I think we're just waiting for headlines just to come in to find some direction there. It looks like oil is going to continue to go down, break below 70 as we're finishing up the summer driver season. Gasoline futures down 1.37%. Gold is down 0.67%. Look at the dollar. The dollar's up 0.55%, 101.10. But yet stocks are flat. That tells you the NVIDIA kind of effect into equities right now. The VIX up 1.69%. Again, rather muted. I remember we were talking about being below 17 and then being below 16. And we've just been kind of just tracking that as we go. Obviously, there's an inverse correlation as of now for the VIX and the S&P. VIX goes up, S&P goes down for now. There's times where that kind of correlates together, which is weird. But as of right now, there is not much there's not much fear out there. Monday, remember, NVIDIA pulled back rather sharply, and then it bounced back on Tuesday. So those who wanted to hedge have already hedged possibly. Those who wanted to buy ahead of time probably got in. So maybe some kind of flat line there in that sense. And again, I don't expect much anyways, really until the actual print itself. 128.60, I mean, it's up 30 cents pre-market. I think, again, we know the drill. Everyone's waiting for that report. Silver futures down 2%, copper down 1.85%. So that's probably really dollar related. Dollar yen up 89 pips. Had a question regarding Forex the other day. You know, what do you prefer Forex options, Forex futures, just basic Forex? But again, things have been rather volatile, at least in the dollar yen market, because of the BOJ. It's been kind of best to kind of stay away. You know, oh, that's too risky. Let's just go back to stock options. Kind of that approach. Great. What's great about Forex is there's no expiry. It's very, very liquid, and it's 24/5. So the idea is to try to find what's your niche. If you're a Forex trader, great. If you're a futures trader, great. Options trader or just an investor, it's really about finding what you feel most comfortable with. If you do this long enough, you'll become well-rounded and well-versed on why things affect each other. And once you really get it down, and I've been doing it for 10 years and I'm still learning, you can pretty much trade any instrument as long as you know how patterns work and the basic foundations. So no, let's say if you're trying to learn just futures, it's probably going to help to learn a little bit about stocks as well, and bonds and macroeconomics and the Fed and inflation and GDP. It's all about making things make sense. You know, if I just tell you, hey, these are some lines, here's some levels, yeah, that's easy. But explain why things happen. I think that sticks to people who want to learn. Repetition, all skills are just repetition refined. I always say that. So keep that in mind, that if we repeat certain things, it's for you to stick in your head on why these things happen in the market, and not just be like, what happened? What does this mean? You know, now you kind of have an idea that, oh, because of this report, or, oh, because of this commodity, or because of the dollar, yada, yada, yada. Let's see what stood out here. Pound dollar down 50 pips. this morning, 132.11. Euro dollar 111.15. That's down 69 pips. So the dollar flexing its muscles, at least bouncing. Bitcoin, big hit overnight, below 60,000, but it bounced back a little bit off the lows, 59,925. 25.27 on Ethereum. We're getting into the seasonally worst period for Bitcoin and crypto. That is September. So October it gets a little better. November it gets. October is the best month actually for Bitcoin in terms of seasonality over time. We posted it on the blog. Let me go ahead and show this here. See if I can find it. I know there's tons of stuff here. Where was it? Here it is. Seasonally weak time for Bitcoin, September being the worst. August, September being the worst months for Bitcoin. October and February are the best. November and December rather 50-50. So let's see what happens in September, and we will go from there in terms of Bitcoin. Just really need to stay above 60K. What I really want to show everybody today is the dollar. Okay, we got a little bounce today, granted, but look at the weekly, right near the 200-week moving average. That's pretty much going to be the line in the sand that we need to break down. 100 level. We've been talking about that since pretty much April. So again, a snapback bounce as we're getting now is fine. We just want to see how the week closes. Let's see if we get below there. Will NVIDIA really affect the dollar? Probably not. I don't think so. But again, I just want to keep an eye on that. That maybe, names like, and I do like gold long term, obviously, in terms of the dollar and rate cuts, but we may get a little bit of a pullback in terms of commodities if that MA holds up. So just be careful. I still like the prospect of higher commodities like gold, like copper, like silver. Oil's in its own world, and it's because of the dollar. But right here, it's starting to get to the point that this is major support. So again, it could be a reversal in commodities in the short term, near term, maybe a couple weeks, maybe in September. Just really depends if the dollar can break this weekly moving average. We'll see on Friday if it does. That's really it. And tomorrow we have some GDP numbers, so maybe that'll affect it. Let's answer some questions here. Good morning. Good morning. I saw you entered calls. Would you still recommend Apple calls? Yes, I'm in Apple calls. 228.15. We are up pre-market, and I do expect higher. We just need to break that 228.85 level that we had yesterday. We were at 229 overnight. Again, higher highs, higher lows. It's been outperforming the Nasdaq. I do expect Apple to move higher and fill this gap here at 232.02 ahead of the iPhone event. Good morning, Carlos. Good morning, Capital. How juiced will NVIDIA contracts be? That really depends on the demand. They will be very juiced, obviously, just due to the implied volatility. I think the market is pricing in about an 8% move in regards to NVIDIA's earnings. I mean, really, the levels we're looking for is really very binary. We know that. We have either up or down. My contention is that we move higher. We hit 135.67. That's scenario A. We just get to this level. Great. Scenario B would get us to around 140. That's the recent all-time highs. And then we settle there. Everyone's happy. My concern about scenario A and B is that if we get around this level, this could be a supply level where the people that bought in at $100 or less on that flush are probably going to take profits there. Maybe that's a stop loss for overnight trading. That happens. It happens. It's big level of resistance. We've broken levels of resistance previously, pretty much tracked this whole thing up. Break out of this trend line. We're just holding down pat here. So it's really, how does the market react? How great is these earnings? So in terms of support, you got the 50-day at 120. You got the 20-day at 116. I don't know. Let's go and take a look at the last earnings report. Gap up here from 96.31 to 101. So about a $4 move, and then it continued higher to 114. So that is the most recent earnings. The earnings after this was in February before this, and we had a gap up as well and continued a new trend. Only in November, when they had the last earnings, is when we pulled back in November 2023. So 2 out of the last 3 earnings have been positive for NVIDIA. If we look at it in that sense, the rest of them have been positive, and positive. Throughout the whole thing, obviously, all earnings have been positive, but in terms of the stock moving higher. But if we look at into totality of short-term moves post earnings, The last time we had a negative earnings reaction where the stock went down was November 2023. And the last two have been great, have moved higher. So I don't expect anything to change for NVIDIA. The market really supports the CapEx and the AI story. We know that semiconductors, the new oil, we talked about this in 2023, January, guys. Take a look at that YouTube channel, how important semiconductors were even just that last year. 135.67. The only concern I have is that once we tag these levels, I don't think we break above them. I think we reject. That's the only concern I have about trading that at this moment. Thought on real estate stock or index that would perform well with rate cuts? Well, real estate, it depends. If you're just trying to own some REITs for the dividend, sure. But remember, when rates get cut, that means dividends get cut too. There's no reason to pay that high of a yield, or dividends do not change because now money is being accessed a little easier. You don't need to pay out so much for dividends um, in that aspect. But we will see in terms of how that'll affect the real estate market. There is political talk about buying homes. The Harris administration, or thought prospect of a Harris administration, is talking about giving home buyer tax credits or home buyer money to buy homes. That could affect real estate. It's a lot of moving parts on that aspect. I think if you just own the S&P index, that's fine. Um, we just have to see if the demand is still going to hold up. Home builders are still running strong. Banks are running strong. So I wouldn't expect real estate to pull back either unless we have some kind of labor issue where, massive layoffs or something like that, and people can't afford homes. Not like they're unaffordable now. It's the highest level of unaffordability for homes. Demand is still being stripped like crazy. We actually had a positive mortgage applications report today, higher than last week's. Demand is there. People have money, people are working, and they want homes too. So, like I talked about on the podcast, real estate is really based on where the area is. Everyone wants to live in the same big cities. But if you start going to the center part of the US, the Kansas, Missouris, the Montanas, those cities, those states, Nebraska, the homes are not that expensive. It's just everyone wants to live on the coast, everyone wants to live in the city. So that's where it makes it unaffordable. And then, of course, the bigger or the more condensed the city is, it starts spreading out into suburbs. And then those suburbs become just as expensive as the city. And it's really just simple supply and demand. If everyone wants to live in Dallas, Austin, Atlanta, New York, Miami, Chicago, LA, San Diego, San Francisco, what's going to happen? It's like a line at the DMV. Everyone wants the same thing. So Starbucks. What a change with that new CEO, right? The Chipotle CEO coming to Starbucks. Now you're above the 200 week. Remember we talked about that with the dollar. Very, very strong, but again, massive gap fills. And this is what's scary. This can fill. Absolutely. Let's go ahead and stretch this time period out, and you can see pretty beautiful straight up trend line. And you're above major moving averages. So this is a problem with Starbucks that I have. Starbucks is very consumer discretionary. You don't have to have coffee at Starbucks. You can make coffee at home. And I love Starbucks. But if labor starts to crack, keep in mind that can the Fed cut fast enough so people can go ahead and still go to Starbucks? So again, if the labor market is a little wobbly, consumer discretionary names like Starbucks and Chipotle and those McDonald's, they're gonna take a hit. So until we start getting a little more clarity on what the Federal Reserve deems as weak labor market, I think Starbucks is, at least in the technical basis, is fine, but it has moved very high very quickly. And I'd rather trade that name than actually just buy a position to it. Let me see if I can add an RSI here. Yeah, we're almost overbought on the weekly, overbought on the daily. So yeah, I wouldn't chase this at this moment, no, unless you're trying to trade it, um, like with options or something. Let me see if I can get this out of here. Studies. I'll take out the 9MA and that. All right. All right. Google levels. Good morning. Good morning. Qualcomm. Yeah, that's going to move today with NVIDIA, obviously. I'm still waiting for that break above 176.91. It is Flatsville this morning. Google, another one that's pretty much Flatsville at this time. And look at least in the short term. And we're just up in this channel, and neutral as can be. It's neutral Switzerland. Palantir. Palantir, we need to get above this breakout level again of around 31.38. Palantir has been very, very difficult for me to trade, at least the last time. That took a while to get there. It made me hold the whole way until Friday just for me to get 5% in that thing soared anyway. So if we can get above 31.38, I like the 32 calls on Palantir. Yes, obviously I like pain. Chewy. Yes, they just reported earnings and they're up this morning. Well, they were. Not much here. Mm-mm. Yeah, I guess possible double top here or an inverse head and shoulders. Just depends on the view. Get above 28, maybe you can trade it to the 30 level, but doesn't seem like much there, to be quite honest. PayPal retrace level. Upward trend line still holding up. You're above the 100 weekly moving average. Anything new with PayPal here other than you filling a gap? And if you really want to get where the next level will be, or now you're looking at possible breakout above 76.54, you have a gap to fill here at 84.78. So that's your pretty much best setup. Uber. Very similar, kind of that inverse head and shoulder or possible pullback of double top resistance. Oh man, starting to notice a pattern here. Take a look at this. Take a look at RTY really quickly. What does that look like, team? Bull flag, right? How about NASDAQ? Not exactly a bull flag unless we really want to just kind of switch it up on us. And you want to just draw another line like this. Yeah, bull flagging. Your pull, not perfectly straight up. Pull, down, breakout. That's what you're looking for, higher. Same thing as RTY. See, this is more of a bull flag breakout. But if you break below, then it's voided. And you're pretty much just back to where we were last Thursday on RTY. It's really going to be on NVDA. That's really it. I think that's AMD. Stop me if you've seen this before. Look familiar, guys? Oop. This is why I think NVIDIA move higher. We're setting up for breakouts across the board. I mean, you keep knocking on the door, guys. You're going to break it down one way or another. Now, again, unless NVIDIA has a complete meltdown and they miss on every earnings, and I don't know if they will, guys. I do not have inside information. It is pure reaction. That's all. But from what I see, macro backing it up, I think NVIDIA moves higher. Absolutely. And we're really just getting started really on this new cycle, really, since we're going to get rate cuts. It's basically back to 2020, but without the pandemic. Bull downside, bull flag. It's going to move higher too. PNW. So starting to notice a trend here. A lot of bull flags coming out. You know, come on. Wasn't born last night either. We can see the hints. We can see the hints out there. Now, again, anything could happen, but at least we are setting up for more upside. Google is just on a channel. Again, just stuck in some major boring neutral channel. I mean, yeah, you can may knock on the door below 161 or so, but it's pretty much flat, down 20 cents from today. NASDAQ rejecting right now that top end of that trend line here, kind of that bull flag that we talked about. So again, 503 being support. Let's see if you can get above 750. But I don't expect much, again, because of NVIDIA after the bell. Really what I'm hoping for is that Apple boosts above 229 today, gets us to 230 before NVIDIA, and then we're done, at least with that trade, and we can move on. Would you do Apple calls for the next week, the 235s? Yes, I would. And Nike. It's going to be let's see. Nike, very similar to a name that we just spoke about, Starbucks. And there is a gap to fill here at 93. I'd wait for that gap to fill. And then there's one more at 100. So break 93, or 95, I would take a look at the 100 calls. Maybe back to school shopping helps their bottom line when they have their earnings. I believe they report earnings right around when Micron does in a couple weeks. Have a great rest of your morning. Thank you guys for joining me this morning on the Morning Note. Thanks for the questions. I will catch up with you guys on the podcast. We'll have immediate reaction to the NVIDIA report, break it down together, and it should be a fun one. Let's see what happens with that report. Have a great rest of your day. See you then. Cheers all.